I found this table sitting out at the curb waiting for the garbage truck, and I think I'm going to turn it into a chess table. It's been here in my I don't know what to do with this furniture pile for months until last night when my son asked me to play a game of chess. I said no because he absolutely destroys me at chess these days, but it did give me an idea. I think the top of it is a great size and the height of it is perfect to sit in between two big, comfy wingback chairs. I just have no idea what is hiding under all of the current mess that's on it. So I think I'm going to have a go, figure out if I can make my idea work. Accent table, parlor table, occasional table, whatever you want to call it. It is either antique or very close to it, and it's solid wood. It definitely has a few layers of paint on it already. It was filthy when I brought it home, but since then it has been out here collecting layer after layer of paint overspray dust and definitely also has a few fresh cobwebs. So I'm excited to get it cleaned up and see what's going on under some of this paint. I'm hoping that I'll be able to use a two-toned stain effect to create the chessboard on top. But I think I'm just gonna have to dive in and see what I've got before I can really commit to a plan. Based on what I can see of the grain through the brush strokes and from the underside, I think it's all solid oak, which should be pretty incredible. But one of the downsides of solid wood furniture is that it can warp a lot over time if it's exposed to extreme temperatures or humidity, and this top has fallen victim to that. It's pretty wavy, but that shouldn't affect what I want to use it for too much. Not all antiques are or need to be in perfect condition. Embracing that character that we all accumulate through our lives is part of the charm, right? The legs all seem to be in good shape and it's sturdy, which is the main thing. Because of its age and the fact that I don't know anything about this paint job, I am going to quickly test this for lead. It was really commonly added to a lot of paints and even old stained finishes as a drying agent all the way up into the 70s, but it's pretty toxic stuff and can actually cause a lot of different health issues if you accidentally inhale or ingest it. These swabs just get dipped into a little bit of vinegar to activate the testing chemical, and then you rub it on as many different layers as you can get to. And if the swab or the residue that it leaves behind turns any shade of pink, purple, or red, that means there's lead present. This is staying nice and orange though, even though it's dirty. It looks like it's safe to move on. Next, I'm going to spray things down with some simple green and wash off as much of the dust and whatever else might be on this surface so that I don't end up grinding anything down into the wood with my sander. There are obviously a few different ways to go about removing paint from wood, and a lot of the time which method I choose is simply up to preference and what I feel like doing in the moment. Since I know this is solid wood and there are no signs of any more delicate veneers, and this paint feels hard like an enamel, not like a softer gummy latex, I think it'll probably be fastest for me to sand it off instead of applying a chemical stripper, waiting for it to break down the finish, scraping off the paint goo, cleaning up the residue, waiting for the wood to dry back out again, and then still needing to do some sanding anyway. The top seems to be just held on with a few screws, so if I can get them out and separate this from the legs, it should make things a little easier to sand. I'm going to start with a coarse 80 grit to grind away the bulk of this paint. I wouldn't recommend going with anything rougher than this on furniture because you're just going to tear up the wood and create a lot more work for yourself trying to smooth it all back out later on. A lot of times when you're sanding a more modern latex paint, it'll kind of melt and ball up and clog your sandpaper. that's usually a good sign that you're better off using a chemical stripper or even a carbide scraper to get most of it off first. But this paint is different. It's harder and it seems to be powdering rather than getting gummy and melting. And it's not clogging up my sandpaper at all. It's actually cutting through this really nicely. So I'm just going to stick with this. I've got most of the paint off with the sander, but I'm going to switch to my carbide scraper just to get into this tight corner around the top where the sander can't reach properly. Now that the hard part's done, I'm going to start working my way back up through the grits to refine the surface and get it ready for its new finish. Right now, it still feels super rough from that 80 grit, and there are a lot of splotchy spots from the original darker stain still left behind. So moving up to 120 grit and then finishing my sanding with 180 grit is going to let me gradually smooth everything out, knock back some of those deeper imperfections that we could see through the paint, and close the wood pores up just enough that it can absorb its new finish nice and evenly. Someone asked the other day why you can't just jump straight from 80 grit to 180 grit and call it a day. And the reason is that each grit is only designed to remove the scratches from the grit before it, not the really deep ones. That 80 grit that I started with leaves behind some pretty aggressive scratches in the wood. If I went straight up to 180 right away, it would smooth the surface a little bit, but all of those deeper scratches would still be there. They'd just be a little less obvious until I put a finish on it, and then they'd all show back up again. By using the 120 in between and not skipping, I'm gradually refining those scratches. Each pass is removing the marks from the previous grit, so by the time I get to the 180, I'm actually left with a smooth, even surface, not just a surface that feels smooth. I could strip these legs back to bare wood too, but I'm honestly just not interested in doing that. So I've popped a foam interface pad on my sander in between the flat plate and the paper to help conform around all these curves, and I'm just going to smooth out some of the texture, the bad drips in the paint, enough to tidy things up and create some fine texture on the surface for my new paint to grab onto. I'm going to keep all the dents and cracks and character marks and just make it all a clean new color to work with my house. One day down the line, if I do feel like stripping it all, I can do that, but it's definitely not happening today. Now I need to clean up all of the fine sanding dust that I've made, get it out of the wood grain and off of the old paint. I'm just going to use some shop towels soaked with a little bit of denatured alcohol. It'll grab that fine dust really well and then flash off or dry really fast so that I can keep moving. Because I don't want this oak to turn that orangey tone that it naturally goes when it's wet or finished, I'm going to mix up a really simple paint wash, just a little bit of beige or white paint with some water. There's no exact formula or recipe for this. I'm going to brush it on, let that pigment in the paint soak down into the surface, and then wipe back all the excess water right away. It'll give a really soft, subtle tone that keeps the wood looking more like that freshly sanded pale finish instead of turning warm and orange. While that's drying, I'm going to spray some primer onto the base. This is an oil-based primer in a spray can, which is perfect to get around spindly stuff like this. It's way easier than trying to use a roller or a brush to get into all the little corners and crevices. It's going to seal any spots of exposed wood so that the tannins in the oak don't bleed through and stain my paint later on. And it's also just going to give a really nice, solid, even base for the top coat or paint that I'm going to use to stick to. I have not used my Cricut in ages. It's dusty, but I think that making myself a stencil for the chessboard squares is going to be a lot easier than trying to tape it all out with masking tape. So let's see if I remember how to use this thing. I found a pattern and I've sized it as big as I can while it still fits on the sheet of vinyl. So I'm hoping that I can just load this in and let the machine do its thing. Once it's cut, I'll weed out the pieces that I don't need, add some transfer tape on so that I can lift the whole design up off the backing without stretching or distorting it. Then it'll just be a matter of figuring out the placement, getting it centered, or at least close enough that it looks centered. This top isn't perfectly square. It's 17 by 18 and a half. So finding the exact center point and then laying this down is a little complicated. I'm just going to lay it lightly first, sticky side down, but not press it down firmly until I'm sure I like where I've got things. Okay, now I can go ahead and really burnish all of these edges down onto the wood, peel away that transfer tape, and then I'm going to seal the edges of this vinyl using a little bit of pre-stain conditioner just to help prevent the second stain color from bleeding underneath the stencil as much as I can. I'm trying to stick with all water-based products where I can so that everything dries fast and I can bust this out without having to wait hours or even days in between steps for things to dry and off-gas like you do with oil-based stains. Pre-stain is basically a thinned-out sealer that closes off the larger pores so that they can't absorb as much pigment as they might without it. It's supposed to make for a more even staining experience on woods that don't typically take stain well. This gets brushed on and then all the excess wiped off, and once it's had 15 or 20 minutes to dry, I can do the same thing with the darker stain color that I've chosen. While that's doing its thing, I'm going to get the first coat of paint going on the base. I am going to rub it all down one more time with a fine sanding sponge just to knock back any rough spots, which happens pretty frequently when you're using a spray can primer. And then I'm going to load some of this fusion mineral paint in the color Oakum into my paint sprayer. This is an acrylic resin paint that's actually designed to be brushed, but once it's cured, it is water and UV resistant. And for something like this, I don't think it really needs any additional top coating. I spray this paint because it's fast and easy for me, but it is pretty therapeutic to sit down and hand paint a piece every now and then too. Okay, bare water-based wood stain in Jacobian. With the beige paint wash underneath and the layer of pre-stain, it should give a nice, soft, slightly darker shade to the wood. I'm going to brush it on in a nice liberal layer over the whole top. Again, this stuff dries fast, but I don't want it to start drying before I get a chance to wipe it back because then it'll get streaky and patchy. So I'm working as quickly as I can to get it all covered and then wiping it off again, keeping all of my strokes going in the direction of the grain And hopefully once I peel the vinyl off, I'll have nice clean squares. But I think I am going to let it dry for a little bit first so that I don't accidentally smudge anything. It's been about an hour, so I've got my little dental pick to start picking up these stickers and see what's happening underneath. I mean, I guess you could just stain a board and then stick a permanent vinyl chessboard to it and call it a day, but I'm excited to see the two different tones of wood grain, and whew, it looks pretty good. There are a few little spots where the darker color bled under the stencil, but that's okay. I'm really happy with this. I need to flip this base right way up to get my second coat of paint onto that. I think 2 coats will get me full coverage and create a durable enough film of paint on here. I'm not going to add any top coat to it, but you could if you thought that you needed it. A dark wax might look good on here too, just kind of settled down into all the nicks and dings, but I don't think I have any. I am going to add some extra protection to the top so that it can handle lots of gameplay and easily be wiped down if, or I should say when, it needs to be, because I'm sure this is going to have a second life as a drink and snack holder at the end of the couch now and then. This matte polyacrylic is really easy to wipe on. I'm just using another foam brush to get it on and smooth it out once quickly, and then I'll leave it alone to let it settle, level out, and dry for a bit. I'm probably going to end up doing 3 layers of this, again, to build up a thick enough coating for it to work well. And I'll give each layer a light smooth out with some fine 400 grit sandpaper in between coats, just to keep each layer nice and soft and free from any dust or lint bumps that might dry in it. I've got 2 coats of poly on here and dry, but before I apply the last one, I'm going to flip this upside down so that I can screw the base back in place. And then this project is finished. All right, here's a reminder of the little occasional or accent table that I saved from the trash. I knew what it was when I saw it, but I had no idea just how pretty the wood hiding under that dark, dusty paint was going to be. That oak grain is absolutely stunning. And even though the tabletop isn't flat or flush, it's good enough to host some pretty intense games when it needs to. Now all I have to do is manifest that the thrift store fairies find me a matching pair of armchairs for this to live in between. Thank you so much for watching along today, and I will catch you next time with a brand new flip.